This time of year is critical for beef producers because how the fall markets perform can directly impact your long-term plans for the year ahead. Joining us now to talk about the fall outlook is Mike Murphy with CattleFax. Mike, let's begin by talking about some of the seasonal trends we currently or typically experience in the fall and how those are playing out this year.
Yeah, typically you have a calf market that'll move lower into that fall time frame. That's the window that we wean the most calves throughout the year. Yeah. And this year we've actually had a lot of stability of the calf market. We haven't had as much softness when you kind of think about it from early September through the fall window. The calf market on a U.S. average is holding together at about 290 a hundredweight. And we expect that market to be really sustained into the end of the year, and then we'll see improvement past January 1.
Yeah. So let's talk about what cow-calf producers should be thinking about if they haven't already sold their calves. What does the fall look like for you?
Well, I think in general, if you're weaning your calves and you're traditionally going to sell those calves here in the fall time frame, go ahead and take that action. The market's very good. But if you're someone that has the ability or you have the feedstuffs, then looking to retain ownership past the first of the year, I think will add, $5 to $10 a hundredweight value to that market. And then if you can carry all the way deep in the spring as we get ready to turn those calves out to summer grass, that calf market on a U.S. average could be as high as $330 to $340 this spring. So there is opportunities to hold them longer, but Mother Nature is going to dictate a lot of that here for sure.
Let's talk cattle feeders. We've talked a lot about low cattle supplies, but it seems like they've either found cattle or kept cattle in the yards longer and put more weight on them and really kept the occupancy up. What does the fall look like for cattle feeders?
It's a stable market. We're going to have really good support in that low to mid 80s on the low end of the fed cattle market. And then as we kind of look at the top end, we're going to have some times where we can push that market to like the low 190s. But it's going to be a very stable market. For the most part, when you start to think about the way we market cattle on a value-based marketing arrangement, when you include those premiums into your bottom line, we're going to be profitable throughout for most of the fall. Now, break-evens do get higher towards the very tail end of the year, and then obviously after January 1, but it's going to be a very solid, stable market for the cattle feeder.
Or at least we assume. Obviously, elections, wars, hurricanes, lots of things happening all over the country and the world. What advice do you give producers as we look towards the next several months and move into 25?
Well, I think number one, when we start talking about risk management, really everybody has to identify their own plan. Gotcha. What works best for them. And then the second thing is once you've identified that plan, then execute that plan. Don't let the emotions of, you say, the better or worse get to the best of you. Yeah. Make sure you've executed the plan. And with that in mind, we're comfortable of having people in a spot today where they've got some coverage on, some of that kind of compliance coverage due to the fact that it is a world that changes daily. But overall, from a supply and demand perspective, we feel like it's a fed cattle market that can transition from this mid 180s area and get into the mid 190s as we get there towards next spring. And so with that in mind, you're not as worried about as much of that downside risk. Yeah. But that being said, to your point, it's a dangerous world that we live in for sure.
You have an upcoming seminar coming up, the Outlook and Strategy Seminar, right here in Denver. And I've attended that seminar several times. It's a great event. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we're really excited about the event this year. We've got a whole host of outside speakers. Jan Lambrecht, who's with Rabo, Dan Hallstrom with the Meat Export Federation, Matt Makins, who you all know from NCBA and Cattleman Cattleman, going to be doing all the weather outlook. And then Colin Woodall is going to be there with us talking about what does this election mean for you as a cattle producer? And that's going to be really important because right now it's a little bit of a toss-up on who's going to win this thing. And yet we know there's some really big variables, especially from a tax perspective for producers. So he'll be able to give us that update and what we should be looking forward to 2025. And then we'll have several of our CattleFax staff really dialing into what the outlook is for 25. And we're going to extend that into the end of the decade so cow-calf producers have an understanding of where they should be positioned the next 2, 3, 4 years.
That's outstanding. And clearly one of the most exciting sessions at the CattleCon is the CattleFax Outlook Seminar in February. Tell folks what they might hear if they come to that session.
Well, I think number one, we really appreciate having the opportunity to be in front of producers at the convention. It's always very well attended, and so we're excited to be able to kind of speak what we visually see in the marketplace over the next 12 months. It'll be similar to our outlook and strategies, talking about what does it look like from a price perspective. For the cow-calf producer, the stocker operator, and the cattle feeder. We'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen relative to weather. La Nina is going to be very important as we look into 2025, knowing that that's typically a 2-year pattern for this La Nina pattern. So we'll have all that wrapped up there. And then there'll be some of those things that I think we'll be able to highlight from a top level of just politically what we should be thinking about looking into the next year as well.
Know a lot more by then, hopefully.
Yes.
Indeed. Thanks for coming to the show, and thank you for all you do for our industry.
Thank you, Kevin.
If you're looking for top-notch beef industry research, information, and analysis, then visit the website CattleFax.com. While you're there, you can sign up for their Outlook and Strategy seminar that'll be held on December 3rd. Also, make sure you register for CattleCon 25 so you can check out the CattleFax U.S. and Global Protein and Grain Outlook Seminar. You can get all the details on how to attend at the website convention.ncba.org. Use the promo code C2C CattleCon 25 to get $50 off your registration.